Welcome, everybody, into the Brickyard Live Show. Whether you're listening to us on Spotify after the fact or watching us on YouTube, we appreciate you tuning into the most accurate sports show on the interwebs. Why? Because we have the documents. It's already playing out this season, and we are here to preview every single game of week 4. We're also going to be going over the top 5 teams heading into week 4, some other NFL related news, and a whole lot more. But most importantly, how are you doing? And are you fired up to go over all of these electric week 4 matchups now that hopefully the preseason part of the regular season is finally over and we can get back to the football we know and love?
I'm so excited. We got some great primetime games. We got the Cowboys on primetime. That's always fun to see. We got Josh Allen versus Lamar on Sunday night. We have another 2-game Monday Night Football game, so that should be interesting as well. We get to know more and more about each team going into the season. Who's the top 5 teams? Who's the worst 5 teams? And a whole lot more. I'm excited, man. And we'll go over all the NFL news as well, but we got to talk about the elephant in the room here that nobody's talked about, which is the fact that the NFL app, right? We watch football on Red Zone. We also watch games individually. This is a multi-billion-dollar company. Tens of billions of dollars is funneled into the NFL every year, and yet their app is garbage. Like, I could make a better app, and I have no design history whatsoever, yet their app is absolutely dog shit. Why is that? NFL, if you're listening, figure out your fucking app, dude. You guys have been in the league. You guys have been existing for literally over 100 years now. The app world that we've lived in for the last 20 years is prominent now. Everyone has an app now. Why does your app suck so bad?
Yeah, I don't understand it because I bought NFL Plus and apparently I wasn't signed into an account when I bought it. So now I have no way to sign in to the NFL app on any other device because I bought it on my phone and I wasn't logged into the app, and it let me purchase it without having an account actually attached to it. And then when I tried logging into my account to sign in, it said I was a underaged user, and then it was giving me an error to sign in as well. So I have no idea how to switch that I am not an underage user. I am not a minor anymore. And furthermore, if I was, why would you let me purchase NFL Plus? And now I can't sign in on any other device, so I can cast it to the TV. But if I want to share it with someone else, it's not going to happen. So what I had to do is cancel the subscription, use my other email address so when that subscription is over. But what if it forgets that I paid for NFL Plus because I'm not signed into an account? Because the NFL app also forgets all the time that you're logged in and will just sign you out automatically on any other device. Like, I don't understand how that happens. And then I went to find like somewhere I could submit a report about it, and there's no like customer service at all. They're just like, you call a number and the number tells you to look at this help article. And like, did this help?
No.
Are you still not underaged anymore? Can you sign in now that you read this article now? I'm like, no, I can't. But why would you allow me to buy a subscription if I'm underaged in that account I'm signing on? But now I can't even attach the subscription to an account. Like, okay, create a user now. And then when I sign into it with my other email, it's like, oh, subscribe to NFL Plus. So I had to log out of that. So now it's just kind of sitting in the ether with no profile attached to it.
That's amazing to me. That is. First of all, you had NFL Plus last year, and you weren't underage last year. There's nothing that changed with your accounts whatsoever. So I don't
No.
understand why they're calling you a minor at this point, especially with the fact that you're fucking 24, basically. You'll be 24 in like 2 months. You're far
Yeah.
between being a minor. It's not like you're 19. Like, you're not even close to being a minor. And then how do you... So they took your $15.
Yeah.
And then
Happily.
what? Where? Yeah, of course. And it's just gone. It's just in The
So
echo
it's there. I
chambers.
can still watch NFL Plus. It's not attached to an account, but it's like, okay, what if you forget that I paid for NFL Plus because now I'm not even attached to an account anymore. So now I canceled it and then created an account with a different email. So when this is up, I'm going to have to log in with that account to pay for it, which should resolve itself. But I shouldn't have to go through this much gymnastics when the NFL is as big of an organization as they are currently. Like, you can't even afford to build a functional app. Like, if I go to buy ESPN Plus, they'll be like, please log into an account or create an account before you pay for it. So you're actually signed in. You got to pay for Netflix. Do they just let you pay for it without having an account and then create it later? Like, no.
No,
It's not like
nobody
I'm
does that.
creating an account with my, like, it's not like I'm giving you my social and then I use that to create an account.
The NFL made $20 billion in 2023. $20 billion. There are some companies that trade publicly on the stock market that make less per year than the NFL does. The NFL is basically, well, actually, it's not even if, it is a business. How the hell can you have that big of a brand and an app that hundreds of millions of people use each and every year, and it's that bad? And have that bad of a system, and to not have a support team for issues like this. Like, this should just be as easy as, oh yeah, we're going to transfer this $15 over to this person's account. Bam. Should be a 5-minute call. Nope. NFL has other ideas.
Yeah.
That's some bullshit.
Well, yeah, just the automated service and then it hangs up on you. So, okay. I don't even mind that you don't have customer service, just you have to actually make a real app to make up for it. That doesn't just let anyone just pay for it without an account.
That's a horrible system. NFL, do better. As far as
But
I'm
that's why
concerned.
they give their markets out to other people. That's why their network doesn't even air any games.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
ESPN, we'll give you 2 Monday Night Football games. That
Yeah.
was great.
I'm so glad that a company like Stream East exists to just fuck them over, because when we were trying to watch the Bills and Jags game, um, my roommate has ESPN Plus, so I'm like, okay, we can watch both of these games. No,
No. Don't fall
nope.
for ESPN Plus.
Well, his dad pays for it, so that's the benefit. We're not paying for it. Fuck no. ESPN Plus is garbage. But the game that's on ESPN, which was the Bills and Jags game last week, and what's going to be the Dolphins and Tennessee game, you have to have cable for it. I'm like, still? We still have to have cable at this point when every other, like, we have Prime for Thursday night, we have Peacock for Sunday night, Monday night. That's another issue I have. Why is Monday night not like fixed? Like, it's supposed to be just on ESPN Plus, but so many times over the last 3 years when we go to watch Monday Night Football, it's just not on ESPN. What's the deal there? What's the deal that they have in place? Because it feels like every fourth game they just don't have. We have to just have cable and spend
Yeah.
$150 a month for it.
I know. I have a massive beef with the people who just complain about, oh my god, it's just like having cable now that we have to pay for all the apps and it's the same price now. And they're like, yeah, it's the same price without ads. You get to choose what you want to watch. It's not just the Die Hard movie or Marvel movie of the week, and they create better original content and they're not restricted by the stupid TV guidelines. You can actually, you know, make shows for adults with real dialogue and real meaningful scenes that happen instead of most watered down cables. Like, yeah, so if you don't want to choose what you want to watch, sure, feel free. What you don't, you're going to miss not having daytime news to watch. Oh, God forbid you don't fill your mind with garbage and propaganda.
Yeah, no, I agree. No, we were watching the Bengals and Commanders game. I just saw so many different ads for different 911 Lone Stars. You know, like that fucking firefighting show that's been on for like what feels like 30 years. They have a
With
fucking
Rob Lowe.
alien version now.
What?
They have like an alien one. I'm pretty sure. I'll look it up, but it's like 911 alien fucking show now. So dumb, you
No.
guys.
There's always those shows on CBS and Fox that when you watch football with your friends every week, you bet on it like, okay, is this going to get canceled after one season? No. And then you check in 10 years later, and that was one of the shows that just keeps going for some reason. You're like, who is watching this?
Hey, we joked
Airports?
about yeah,
Hotels?
airports. 911 Lone Star just got picked up for its 5th season. It's because they got Rob Lowe there. Big commodity, I suppose. I don't
What
get
a
it.
what a easy job for Rob Lowe though. Like,
Oh yeah.
dude kind of has it made where he's kind of being like Trevor Lawrence's this season, where he can kind of just show up when they already gave him a bunch of money, and just because it's Rob Lowe on a TV show like that, it's like, okay, I'll show up, get paid, don't really have to do much, look slightly concerned because oh my god, fire, and oh, we're done.
Yep.
All right,
That's it.
it's a good
He's just
system.
collecting a paycheck. I think he gets like $1 million an episode, and there's like 20 episodes a season. So he's making good money to do
Yeah,
that.
is that as bad as what Daniel Jones is doing to the Giants right now? Is Thursday night football. We have another East rivalry. This week it's in the NFC after back to back AFC East rivalries on Thursday night football. We have the Giants and we have the Cowboys. And I kind of like when Thursday night football would do the division rivalries because it's two teams that know each other. So it's easier to prepare. It's more competitive because all of these games typically matter when it comes to playoff seeding, and it's usually like a pretty decently competitive game or a blowout. But I think the division rivalry just adds more of a reason to care about it, especially if you can get a divisional win and then kind of that extra bye heading into the next week. So I think Giants and Cowboys is going to be an interesting matchup because if your pass rusher in Brian Burns does not have to think about stopping the run like at all for the Dallas Cowboys because you decide to run it up with Rico Doidle and Ezekiel Elliott. They're like, oh, so it's just free range to Dak Prescott right now because they don't have, a full offense on the field right now currently. And remember when Mike McCarthy was super serious when he got Kellen Moore fired? He's like, the reason why I don't want Kellen Moore on this team is because I want to run the football more and take more pressure off of Dak Prescott. And then since then, your offensive line has gotten older. You haven't rebuilt it. You let Tony Pollard walk, and you brought back a senior citizen at running back in Ezekiel Elliott, whose yards have dropped every single year and was basically a fullback for the Patriots. So it's like, okay, now it's free range at the quarterback right now. But then on the other side, it is still Daniel Jones, which is the real dilemma I have with this game.
See, my dilemma, the thing that I have with this game is you mentioned everything with the Cowboys. We forget that they also let Tyron Smith walk, and their offensive line has not looked great. For the Giants, the thing that I can compliment the Giants for is the addition of Brian Burns has been really nice for them. And they had some nice pieces already. We like Kayvon Thibodeau. We're obviously big supporters of Bobby Okereke. And then they have some decent players in their secondary. They don't have a great secondary, but really, like, if their game plan is just stop CeeDee Lamb, that's really all they need to do. If they can just stop CeeDee Lamb, which I know that's easier said than done, if they can hold him to under 100 yards, then they're going to probably win this game. And I think that I honestly think the Giants are going to win this game. History is going to say that the Cowboys own the Giants, but that's also when the Cowboys had a running game and when the Cowboys had a defense. Last week, they almost gave up 300 rushing yards against the Ravens. Granted, Derrick Henry and Devin Singletary are not the same people, so I don't suspect the Giants are going to run for 300 yards, but I do think that they're going to run the ball against them, especially because Daniel Jones can run a little bit. Devin Singletary, he can run a little bit. I think the Giants are going to have a similar game that they had against the Browns with
Yeah.
Diddy Watson. I think that they
Who
can actually scrape together some wins.
And I think an interesting question here is because Kayvon Thibodeau is a dominant force on defense, and the Giants' defense was one of their bright spots last year, I feel like. So, as an offensive head coach, who would you rather have, Brian Daboll or the Bears or Matt Nagy? Like, who would you rather have as an offensive mind to be your head coach?
I'd probably say Brian Dayball.
Who do you think is better? And I know this is choosing from worse and worse. It's like between Burger King and Wendy's, but who do you think is better, Daniel Jones or Mitch Trubisky?
Woof. At least Daniel Jones is mobile. I'll give Daniel Jones the edge slightly, by like a hair.
Slightly. So it begs the question if this Giants team, who's made the playoffs and Brian Daboll won a coach of the year previously, could be similar to when the Bears added Khalil Mack to when the Giants added Brian Burns, who the Rams were ready to mortgage the rest of their future for and give up 2, 3 first round picks because they thought he was that good. So if now he's on the Giants and you have someone who's a little bit better than Mitch Trubisky, the Bears got to the playoffs. Did they win a playoff game? No. Should they have won a playoff game? Probably, because the kicker missed a field goal that he normally makes blindfolded, falling backwards with his eyes closed. So now it's like, okay, the Giants in a weaker division where the Cowboys offense is struggling and the Eagles offense is struggling, and you have a young quarterback, they're gonna pick up some wins within the division. And I think this is gonna be one of those games where you saw them versus Cleveland, and Daniel Jones was just a little bit better than Deshaun Watson in that game. And Neighbors turned into a real threat where he kind of overshadowed some of those blemishes from Daniel Jones, similar to kind of Matt Schaub in Houston with DeAndre Hopkins and Andre Johnson just being so good that they brought a mediocre guy like Schaub to up a level. And then similarly with Ryan Tannehill, he was bad for a while in Miami, but then he had AJ Brown and Derrick Henry and Mike Vrabel coaching the defense.
Yeah, I think that's a good take, honestly. Malik Neighbors, so far he's been the best receiver in this draft. You could point to Marvin Harrison, but I don't think that he hasn't quite reached the same level. Malik Neighbors just been insane. Last week he had 12 catches for 120 yards or something like that. He's basically been their offense. And there's some other receivers on that team that have speed. So if you are able to do motion plays with them, I think they can do pretty well against this Cowboys team. Funny enough, the Cowboys are favorited at 6 points on the road, and 80% of the money is on the Cowboys. To me, that's a red flag because the Cowboys have not looked like the team of last year. I feel like this spread has something to do with the Cowboys being 12-5 last year with all these pieces here, but this is not the same team as last year. The running game is outside of DeAndre Swift and Zaire White. They have the worst running back trio in all of football. They're third worst in the league. So nobody's going to run the ball. And then if it's just going to be a passing scenario and you can just contain CeeDee Lamb, double cover CeeDee Lamb, I don't know. I just think this is going to be a game the Giants win.
Yeah, could be a game that the Giants win, especially on Thursday night, because if you're Dak, and you're going out there on Sunday, which is a full week to prepare, a entire calendar in the NFL to prepare for a football game, and you're going up on the podium and saying, well, I just didn't feel like we were prepared to play, I don't know, one of the teams that was the 4 best in the league, even though we consistently get our butt kicked by those teams year in and year out. How are you going to be prepared for a Thursday matchup, which is, what is it? Oh, it's half a week to prepare in the NFL.
Yeah, exactly. And Dak took some shots last game too, so he might be dealing with some injuries too. I feel pretty confident picking the Giants in this game. I know we have our issues with Daniel Jones, but this is more about their defense. This is more about it feels like their offense actually has an identity this year. Like they are going to run the football with Devin Singletary. They're going to give it to Malik Neighbors as much as possible. I feel like that's enough for this Cowboys defense that has not looked good whatsoever. I'm actually going to take the Giants to win this game. I think they cover the spread, and I think they win outright.
Yeah, and the thing with Daniel Jones right now is people expect him to fail at this point, which is a great place to be in your career because if you're aiming for failure, what is it? Aim for failure and you'll always succeed. So that's kind of where he's at right now because no one expects anything from him. So if he's just like kind of what Ryan Tannehill was in Tennessee, sure, great, fantastic. That is, well, that's kind of a deal with what he's making right now. So
Yeah,
he's
40
the
million
reason why they
range.
would lose this game, though. But I think the defense can keep it within 6. So I'll just take the spread and I'll take the Giants to cover in this game on Thursday night.
Sweet. Then we go to the 1 o'clock slate, and we start with another divisional matchup. This is in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. This is the Falcons hoisting the New Orleans Saints. New Orleans Saints, first 2 weeks, 91 points scored. They were looking like potentially the 2007 Patriots. The Falcons, they have played in some couple of primetime games where they looked pretty solid overall. Right now, the Falcons are favored at 1.5 at home. What are your first initial thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, my thoughts on this one is the Falcons are probably the best 1 and 2 team in football right now because they gave the Chiefs on prime time a run for their money and their defense played extremely well in this game and the Saints went out there in the first 2 weeks and absolutely obliterated teams. They took the momentum that they had last season into those first 2 weeks. However, I think with the Atlanta Falcons, Kirk Cousins is getting better every game, and Drake London this season looks like a real threat and a problem to deal with, especially with his size. He's been getting a lot of crucial third down pickups for them. And it seems like they're at least trying to use Bijan Robinson and Kyle Pitts this year. Most importantly, their defense is the reason why I think they'll win this game because, while the Chiefs did beat them, they were able to limit a lot of those big plays downfield. And I think the key to beating the Saints is Derek Carr goes 0 for 4 on go routes to Rashid Shaheed. That's how you beat the Saints. And I think that the Falcons can do that. And I think that the Falcons will win this game. And I think the Falcons' offense is going to be good enough this year, but their defense is a lot better than I thought it would be. Matthew Judon is turning out to be one of the most underrated pickups, especially to go along with that secondary. Really, this team was missing that dynamic pass rush. So if they make another move on the defensive line, I think this will be a real problem in the NFC.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a lower scoring game. I think both of these defenses have played really well so far. I know the Saints didn't win last week, but they did hold the Eagles to 15 points. So I have a feeling this will be a lower scoring game. Right now, the over under is at 42.5. I would definitely take the under. I think we see ourselves a gritty game, probably like a 2017 sort of game. And honestly, yeah, I think it comes down to can they stop those deep passes? Because honestly, those 91 points that they scored the first 2 weeks were bomb plays to Rashid Shaheed, bomb plays to Chris Olave, Juwan Johnson getting involved. If they can mitigate those big chunk plays, then I think that they'll win this game. As of right
Yeah.
now, I think I'm leaning Falcons as well. I do think Falcons are the better team, but I do think this will be a very close competitive game.
Yeah, I think you can see when Derek Carr isn't hitting the deep ball, you can see him get frustrated. Like he seems like he kind of has that like Brett Favre, Josh Allen mentality where if the deep ball isn't hitting for them, that's when they start to press and make mistakes because they really want that big play, quick pickup. And then when you're not hitting that and it's not a threat down the field, then Alvin Kamara struggles and it kind of makes its way from the top down on that team. But I've been impressed with the Falcons, and I think that if they win this game, probably on their way to winning the division, but 1 week at a time.
Yeah, 1 week at a time. We both agree. I think the Falcons pull out the win. So we move on to the next game. We got Soldier Field, Caleb Williams hoisting the banged up LA Rams. Bears are favorited at 2.5, giving a slight edge to the Rams as the road team. Early thoughts on this game?
Early thoughts on this game. Rams should be able to get it done. And I think Matthew Stafford is someone who's played in Chicago before. He's familiar with that environment and what they were able to do versus the San Francisco 49ers, where they came back in a game where they looked dead in the water for most of it. They really weren't able to get anything going, and Caleb Williams really hasn't turned it on and hit his stride. So until I see that breakout game from him, I'm going to trust Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay in this game, especially when the offensive coordinator for the Chicago Bears is shaking with the playbook. Oh my God, I'm getting paid hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars to say XXOY under over Roger in the huddle. And you're shaking because of that. You're so nervous. You're the one who contributed to those terrible Seattle Seahawks offense. And you've been one of the offensive coordinators that goes around the league. And then you're like, wonder why that team struggled. He leaves. And then like, okay, their offense is kind of back this year. And now with the Chicago Bears, you can kind of see Caleb Williams starting to get frustrated. So I like Stafford in this game. I like the Rams. I think it will be a close game, but I trust Stafford to make the big play when it matters.
See, this is a game. Last game gave me hope for Caleb Williams. I think that this is a game. I know he didn't win last week, but he started to piece things together. He made some big plays. He started to connect with those big plays with Roma Dunze. I actually think this
Komet.
could be a game where Caleb Williams finally shows why he was the first overall pick. And so I'm actually going to take the Bears to upset the Rams here. I think that Caleb Williams, I think they're a little bit healthier than the Rams are. I worry that with Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp banged up, and Kyron Williams is banged up as well, that the Rams really struggled for the first three quarters against the 49ers. And I feel like part of the reason why they came back also had to do with the 49ers kind of fumbling as well. That being said, I think this will be a game that Caleb Williams starts to show why he was the number one overall pick. I'll take the Bears. I think the Bears are going to win this game.
Yeah, I mean, if they win this game, need a huge game from Cole Kmet. Also, got to figure out the offensive line though, and somewhat of a running game because I don't think this Bears team is going to start winning games until you figure out how to use D Swift, how to get your running game involved, and really take the pressure off of him. So I think he's someone who can eventually make that step. But I think you're going to see the Bears start to play better around hopefully week 6. But the offensive line is still concerning for me.
Yeah, offensive line is definitely a concern. Right now, I don't know what happened with DeAndre Swift. Talk about a guy who had so much promise. I mean, I look at his time in Detroit. He didn't quite live up to expectations in Detroit, but it felt like he had something there. And then last year with the Eagles, he had a couple of games where he looked really good. This year, he's averaging 1.8 yards a carry. Is this DeAndre Swift just being washed at this point? I know he's had some injuries. Dude is 25. He was a Pro Bowler last year. What the hell is going on with this guy? It can't just be the offensive line. Like DeAndre Swift, this is actually a concern for me. Where in the world is DeAndre Swift? I think he's better than how he's played, but so far this year, he's played as literally the worst running back in football. He's been the most
Yeah.
inefficient running back. He's been a net negative for this team. At this point, maybe give the rock to Khalil Herbert at this point because
Yeah,
it hasn't fared well.
I think it comes down to the O line as well because he's still able, like you can see it when he's in space and they use him as a receiver out of the backfield, but Caleb Williams is always getting beat up as well in the pocket, and the offensive line isn't doing him any favors either.
Yeah. But I do think that this will be the game that we see Caleb Williams start to piece things together.
Yeah.
At Soldier Field, 1:00 game against the Rams defense that hasn't been overly impressive for me. So I'll take them to edge it out.
Yeah, the Caleb Williams slander's been kind of crazy though. I saw a meme where it's just like Caleb Williams just Johnny Manziel with a trainer and a chef.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. I think we've still seen enough with Caleb Williams. We see the talents there. You look at his offensive line being dog shit. You look at Matt Eberflus was on the hot seat last year, but they rallied the last half of the season. They kept his job, but I think this has more to do with coaching and just having a bad offensive line than it does have to do with Caleb Williams being a bust.
Yeah. Should be a good game, though. I'm excited for it. What was the
Yeah.
spread?
The spread is the Bears are favored at 2.5, so
Two and a
it's
half?
kind of
Yeah,
split.
I'll take the Rams. So,
All right. Then we go to Green Bay. There's a chance that Jordan Love returns in this game. I'm going to go with the mentality potentially that they keep it safe and Malik Willis plays another game. But we have Green Bay taking on the Vikings. Vikings are red hot, 3-0. We have Sam Darnold who's playing magical football. We've seen this act before. It's whether or not they can continue onward with it. My early thoughts on this, I know that we've talked about Sam Darnold in the past and his 3-0 stint with the Panthers, but this feels a little bit different. I think they're 3-0 not because of Sam Darnold, but I think Sam Darnold has helped them mitigate mistakes, and I think he's made the right play when it mattered. But ultimately, the reason why I think the Vikings are 3-0 is that Brian Flores' defensive scheme, and they've given up 30 points so far through the first 3 games. They've been electric, and I think ultimately with the Packers, Malik Willis has been a nice story. If he's going to be playing, I think Jordan Love they'll probably sit. I'm going to take the Vikings to win this game. I think Sam Darnold has been efficient. We got Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, and Jordan Addison should be coming back soon enough. Give me the Vikings. I think the Vikings win this game.
yeah. Yeah, it's going to be a close game for sure. And can definitely don't blame you for picking the Vikings. I mean, you have the storyline where Aaron Jones heading back to Green Bay against his former team. They're now rivals in their same division, went right next door to them. How could you replace me with Josh Jacobs? However, I think everyone is talking about the Vikings defense and Brian Flores, and rightfully so. I mean, the defense has been bothering a lot of people this season, and they threw a lot at CJ Stroud and the Texans, but they just came off a massive 34-7 victory against the Texans. And I think sometimes you can see a little bit of a fall off the next game from that, where with Matt LaFleur and Malik Willis, it feels like it's building every single week. And the thing with Malik Willis is he's a backup quarterback fighting for a job, and he's going to do whatever it takes to win. Where Sam Darnold kind of knows he's the guy this season, and he can lose this game because they're 3-0. But I feel like the Packers defense has also been building momentum where they held down the Colts for the majority of that game, and then they just went to Tennessee and absolutely dominated them, where the Tennessees were playing close against their previous 2 opponents with the Jets who blew out the Patriots. So I'm going to take Matt LaFleur and the Green Bay Packers in this game. I think Malik Willis is playing for a job right now, and you're going to see his athleticism in store, and look for a little bit of a letdown after a team completely obliterates another opponent like 34-7. Can they keep up that momentum, and how sustainable is it going to be for them? So I'm going to go with the Green Bay Packers in this game, just because of their defense and Matt LaFleur in this game. But excited to watch this matchup. Probably one of the most anticipated games, because we get to find out, is Sam Darnold for real this season? Because this is going to be their toughest opponent so far. It's someone in your division that's a rival. And then for Malik Willis, all right, how long is he going to go without the turnovers? And if both of these quarterbacks play a clean game and it's not a turnover battle, that'll be really impressive.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. Malik Willis is also playing for just an NFL job, even if it's just a backup moving forward. But he's played really good for the first 2 weeks, and I hope he keeps it up. Honestly, same with Sam Darnold. I like the story of both of them.
You don't
And
think
then,
Mike McDaniels isn't looking at Malik Willis like that could work?
yeah, I think absolutely, especially because he's got to find somebody. We'll talk about
Oh,
them
for
in a
sure.
few minutes, but yeah, the Dolphins got to figure that out. Yeah, absolutely. And then we go to the Indianapolis Colts. They are hoisting the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are 3-0, who do have the best defense in football currently. Steelers have given up 26 points, which is the least amount in the NFL. They've dominated through the first 3 games, and Justin Fields looked like he's been playing pretty well himself. So right now, Vegas has them as the Steelers are the favorites at -2 on the road against the Colts at Lucas Oil. Early thoughts on this game?
Yeah, 2 point spread. Give me the Steelers in this game. I mean, Anthony Richardson kind of looking similar to Justin Fields like the past few years. Is that fair to say? He looks like a taller, stronger, faster version of Justin Fields. However, you mentioned the Steelers giving up 26 points in 3 games. That's absolutely insane. And you can look at their opponents like, well, did they really play anybody? Justin Herbert got knocked out, but I think the addition that they made this season at linebacker, adding Queen, that has been one of the game changers that they've had. And then TJ Watt is looking on fire so far. He's been one of the most dominant players in the NFL this year. So I think they'll be able to definitely slow down the Colts. Gonna see a lot of turnovers from Anthony Richardson in this game, potentially from Justin Fields as well. But I think the Steelers' defense will be enough to win this game. And they're kind of that surprise breakout team this season that has been really good. So I'm interested to see how long they can keep it going, because really the complaint with them was the offensive coordinator in Matt Canada over the past few years, really being one of the worst in the NFL. And Arthur Smith, if maybe being the head coach affected his play calling in Atlanta with all of that pressure, calling a game, organizing the offense, and also being the head coach of the team. Okay, some people are just meant to be coordinators. So if he's going to keep it up, keep developing Justin Fields, I think the Steelers are just better at this point.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Steelers in every way, they have a better defense. I think their offense has looked better. I also worry about Anthony Richardson making just really bad plays because he he does have a great arm and he does connect on those big balls, but at the same time, he's been inaccurate. He's made some goofy mistakes. I think for a team like the Steelers, if you're going to beat the Steelers with how good that defense is, you can't be making mistakes like that. And I worry that the Colts are going to make that mistake. I think the running game is going to be mitigated. They haven't been able to, no one's been able to run on them at all. And it's not through a lack of great running backs that they faced. I think with their offense, I see them holding them to below 14 points. And then for the Steelers offense, I feel like they can do what they want. I think they can run the football. They have George Pickens, who's really blossoming finally. They're throwing the ball to him. So I like the Steelers a lot in this game. I think that they're a lock to win this game.
Yeah, it turns out when you have an all pro caliber level receiver, you should get him the ball when he's consistently going for 4 catches and 100 yards, because he's not getting targets. Now he's surprised that he's getting the ball. Like, say what you will about Justin Fields, but DJ Moore still did eat last year. He still had a great season.
He did. He was a Pro Bowler. Absolutely. Then we go to East Rutherford, New Jersey. The Jets, coming off of the high of the Patriots win, they take on the Denver Broncos in MetLife Stadium. They have the Jets favorited at 7.5 in this game.
7.5. Yeah, I think that's fair. The Jets defense has been really good, and while the Broncos were impressive in Tampa, I don't think that it's going to be as tough of a matchup as New England was for the Jets. And I think that the Patriots and the Broncos are on a similar level. Jets also get that mini bye. Aaron Rodgers is going to recharge. And I think, I don't know why it feels like a revenge game, but Aaron Rodgers was always mentioned as a player that was going to go to the Broncos. So I think it's just Aaron Rodgers versus the Denver Broncos and Bo Nix at this point. I don't really need to justify it any more than that. 7.5. Okay. You could make a case that the Broncos could cover, but I will take the Jets and I will take the points as well. I think 7.5 is fine. They can win by 2 scores.
Yeah, if Aaron Rodgers plays like he played on Thursday night, then I have no worries picking the Jets. I think that they can contain Bo Nix and that run game. And the defense for the Broncos, I don't think can stop Aaron Rodgers when he's on point the way he has been. So, yeah, I take them and the points. I think the Jets win this game pretty comfortably, and they start to make some noise in the AFC East. And then we go to Tampa. They take on the Eagles. Playoff rematch from the wild card game last year. Tampa just got embarrassed by the said Broncos last week. And the Eagles edged out a win against the Saints. Not a very impressive win, I would say. Eagles are favored at 2.5 on the road against Baker and the Bucks.
Yeah, they're favorited on the road against Baker and the Bucks.
Yeah.
Did I hear that correctly? So the team that's supposed to be Philly, Philly is the town of Rocky. You know what Rocky represents? Drinking raw eggs, risking getting salmonella, and running upstairs to achieve a goal because you're the underdog. You need to regain that mentality, not losing, looking pathetic, completely lost on the football field. Well, you know who's someone who was counted out, got beat up, and has now risen back to the top again. Oh, yeah. Baker Mayfield, and Baker Mayfield off of a loss after getting embarrassed by Bo Nix, someone who is older than Joe Burrow, but somehow still a rookie in the NFL. I think the Buccaneers are going to bounce back off this. The Eagles look lethargic. At least Tampa Bay looks like they enjoy playing with each other. The Philadelphia Eagles look like they would rather be anywhere else than on the football field, aside from maybe Saquon Barkley. But Nick Sirianni looks frustrated every single time. He's not the same coach. He doesn't have the same energy. You, for some reason, brought in Kellen Moore, and then Jalen Hurts just looks like he could not be bothered. Maybe that's his mentality, but we did have to hear what a great leader he was the entire year that the Eagles went to a Super Bowl, and we haven't seen any of that leadership since. Where we have seen it from is Baker Mayfield, and they beat the Eagles in the playoffs, and I have no reason to believe why they can't beat the Eagles in this game. And it's honestly embarrassing that Vegas has the Eagles favorited. Like, this Eagles team, really?
Yeah, I agree. I think, especially, you have Baker Mayfield coming off a loss, and he has not lost back to back games for the Buccaneers, I think, since he started with the Buccaneers last year. So, with that, I think the Eagles, I don't like the energy of the Eagles. Maybe they have a better roster overall, if you want to argue that. But at the end of the day, the coaching is way worse. I think that Baker's a better leader. They have a great offense, and they're coming off of a loss that they should not have had. And after looking at his press game conference, after that game, motivating them, telling them to get back into it, I think the Bucks win this game. They're at home around their fans, and I think they cover the spread and they win this game. I think Tampa bounces back. Eagles, again, have not been impressive. I haven't liked what I've seen from Jalen Hurts. Really, the only person that has given me any hope for the Eagles has been Saquon Barkley, and I think the Bucks can contain him a little bit. Give me the Bucks in that
Yeah.
game.
Yeah, and the Bucks should be scoreboard watching too, because they're looking at the Falcons and Saints playing each other, and you need to get those wins against NFC teams. The Broncos, you underestimated a young quarterback. No one thought Bo Nix was going to play that well. He's a pro golfer that decided to pursue football late in life, and no one really expected that from him. Good for Bo Nix. He had a nice performance. People looked at it, they cheered. But now it's time to get back to playing Tampa Bay Buccaneers football, and I think that's exactly what's going to happen.
I agree. And then we go to Carolina. This is a team that just got their first win of the season last year with the Red Rifle, Andy Dalton. He goes to his former team. He hoists Joe Burrow in the 0-3 Bengals. Bengals are favorited at -4. Thoughts on this game? We got the rematch, Andy Dalton and the Bengals.
Yeah, the fact that this game is -4 is kind of scary. And why do I feel like it's like one of those games? Like, I feel like the Panthers are going to win, but I'm not going to pick the Panthers in this game. I think Tampa or Cincinnati is 0-3. They understand the assignment. We've seen them start 1-4 before in September, and frankly, their defense wasn't healthy on Monday Night Football, and they could not stop anyone on Washington, whether it was Zach Ertz, whether it's Terry McLaurin, making some ridiculous catches, and Jaden Daniels was impressive in that game. I do think that the Bengals will get up for Carolina in the battle of the Cats here. You can't be the only winless cat team not named the Jaguars. So I think the Bengals are going to get back on top in this game. T. Higgins was just getting back into the fold. Zach Moss had a nice game for you last week, and you're starting to figure it out a little bit with the offense. So I think the offense can win this game alone, even with the defensive struggles.
I agree. I think Andy Dalton, great story what we saw last week, but I don't think this is the norm that we should rely on. 3 touchdowns, 300 yards, 0 picks. He was facing the Raiders team that has not looked impressive. I think the Bengals have looked more impressive. Give me the Bengals to win this game, finally getting their first win of the season, and hopefully snapping out of whatever noise that they're dealing with right now. So we got the
Yeah.
Bengals there as well.
It's kind of like when you go to the gym and the first week you almost feel stronger, and then like the second week back, that's when your body starts to get fatigued and reality sets in. Like, okay, this is kind of like the normal weight right now. We've seen this a lot from quarterbacks when they make their first start. They just come out absolutely obliterate a team. We saw it with Flacco last year, so I do think it's fair to say Andy Dalton will come back down to earth.
Yeah, for sure. Then we go to an AFC South matchup. We have Houston. This is the last 1 o'clock slate games. Houston taking on the Jaguars. Houston, who just got wrecked by the Buccaneers this past week. And Jacksonville. Wait a minute. No, I'm getting this wrong. Texans, they just fell.
They played Chicago.
They played the Vikings this past
The
week.
Vikings, yeah.
So they got crushed by the Vikings this past week. Jacksonville has not won a game all season, and they haven't won the last 9 games that Trevor Lawrence has started. With all that in mind, the Texans are favored at 6.5 at home. $50 tickets in Houston, by the way.
Oh,
Thoughts
great.
on this game?
I mean, the Texans better kill them in this game, right? Like, if the Texans aren't up by 30 at halftime, I'll be kind of concerned. And this is the game for the Texans where your offensive line needs to come together against the Jaguars. And the Jaguars getting blown out 47-10 by the Bills, I don't think that's the start of this. And I think CJ Stroud sees that game from Josh Allen and takes it as a challenge. Like, ooh, you put up 47 against this Jaguars team? Well, I kind of annihilated them the first time I played them last season. So let me see how many points I can put up against this Jaguars team. And I think it's only going to get worse for Jacksonville. Maybe you figure out how to be an average-ish team and slightly competitive, but I don't see the Jaguars going anywhere fast. And if they lose this game badly, I think that's when people start to talk about Doug Peterson and his job right now, because I haven't heard a ton of dialogue around Doug Peterson. People are kind of just brushing the Jaguars under the rug this year like nothing's happening. But this is a team that was supposed to be a top contender, but now we just expect their ass to get kicked every single week.
Yeah, in their last 10 games, they are 1-9. And that makes no sense. This was a team that last year was 7-4. They were in position to be the 1 seed in the AFC, competing with the Bills and the Chiefs and the Ravens. And now, since then, they have not won a game. Are you kidding me? This is a team that have the prince that's promised. They have the number 1 overall pick, Trayvon Walker, on the other side, allegedly. And if Christian Kirk, look, you have plenty of talent there. As Travis Etienne has proven to be a good running back. What is going on with the Jaguars? I'm never going to pick the Jaguars to beat anybody at this point. And the Texans coming off of a loss. CJ Stroud, much better leader. Texans, way better team. I take the Texans to annihilate them. I absolutely take that spread. And I might even take the over-under just for the Texans alone. I think they absolutely annihilate the pathetic Jaguars, who are a bottom 5 team according to the Brickyard.
Yeah. Will you be concerned if the Texans, like, eke one out?
Yes, I will be. This is a game that you should annihilate the Jaguars. I understand the Jaguars might be more desperate, but they haven't looked desperate to this point. They've mustered up 40 points in 3 games. Like, this is a team that is not functioning well on offense. If they go out there and ball, I'll have my questions about the Texans. I think they need to win by at least 2 scores for me to feel okay with that win.
Yeah, like, I get it's a division rival, so 10, and I'll give you a pass that game. Cool. Good
Sure.
job. Rally from getting blown out 34-7, though.
Yeah. Then we go to the 4 o'clock slates. We start with the Cardinals. They are hoisting Jaden Daniels and the Commanders. Tickets as low as $20. Cardinals are favored at 3, but because it's their home team, really kind of split. Vegas is on this game. And I think, honestly, this is a game that is less about who will win and more about just being a great game. I feel like this is going to be one of the most fun games to watch this week. Kyler, I think, will snap back out of what we saw against the Lions. I think this will be a fun, high-scoring game. I'm taking the Commanders to squeak it out, though. I think I've been really impressed with what I've seen with them. They have a lot of veteran leadership on both sides of the ball. Cliff Kingsbury seems like he's crafted up a decent scheme for Jaden Daniels as well. Brian Robinson's been running the ball well. And Terry McLaurin finally has a good quarterback. So with all that in mind, I haven't been impressed with the Cardinals defense. I'll take the Commanders to win this game and cover the spread.
Yeah, and I think the thing with this game we have to look at is the Cardinals kind of peaked in that Bills game in week 1 where Kyler missed a wide open target. Then you go and just annihilate the Rams. No one saw that coming. Marvin's Harrison Jr. goes absolutely nuclear. And then the Detroit Lions kind of brought this team back down to earth. And I think it's somewhere in the middle for this team where they're not going to absolutely blow people out every single game. However, I will take the Cardinals to win in this game because I think with a young team like the Washington Commanders, you went to Cincinnati and you let Jamar Chase and T. Higgins run all over you. I think the Cardinals are desperate to bounce back because they smell blood in the water in that division with all the injuries to the San Francisco 49ers, the Rams now eking one out versus the 49ers, and then seeing the Seahawks kind of sitting there at the top like, we can lap and catch up to Geno Smith and the Seattle Seahawks. And then Kyler Murray, I think he wants to bury Cliff Kingsbury in this game, and I think him and Marvin Harrison Jr. are going to have a bounce back game. And the thing with these young teams are going to be a lot of ups and downs here. So I think Jaden Daniels did have a good game versus Cincinnati. However, this was the first game he threw a touchdown. So I want to see him do it in back-to-back games. So I'll take the Cardinals in this one to bounce back off of a loss. Both of these teams, I feel like it's going to be every other game. It's going to be a little bit of a roller coaster, but it's going to be a fun, entertaining roller coaster to watch. And I will pick this game to go to overtime. I think it's going to be neck and neck the whole game, and I can't really fault you for picking either team. But yeah, I'm going with the short king in this one, Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
See what he's got.
I have the over-under at 50, which is easily the highest of any game this week. And I honestly think that it's going to go over because these are two defenses that haven't been overly amazing, and these are two offenses that have been high-flying. So I think this is going to be a great game. I'm excited for it. I might actually go to this game. Who knows?
Also, Josh Gannon knows how to wear a hat forward. He's not out here wearing a backwards hat. I don't like it. Backwards hat. Can't be a leader. You look like someone who would move my couch into my house, even though I had to help them do that.
Yes, coward. Yes, coward indeed.
Coward.
Then we go to the next game. We got the 49ers as 10-point favorites, highest spread of the week, taking on the New England Patriots, who couldn't do anything against the Jets. Patriots and 49ers. 49ers are banged up. No Christian McCaffrey. George Kittle's banged up. They have Devo's banged up. This is in San Fran.
In San Fran? Yeah. I mean, I think the San Francisco 49ers should win this game, but I just have a feeling that the Patriots are going to bounce back and upset them. They had some extra time off in this game. The 49ers kind of just got a blow to their confidence by losing to the Rams in that game, where it was a close, tough game versus a divisional rival, where sometimes it almost feels better if you just get blown out. And in this game, I actually think it's going to be a big game for Ramondre Stevenson. The Patriots were playing pretty competitive football until that Jets game on Thursday night. So that could be just a rookie head coach with not enough time to prepare. First time preparing for a Thursday night football. So I think with the extra time, Brock Purdy kind of missing some open receivers, I think the Patriots can upset the 49ers, and I will go upset alert. Yeah, smash that upset alert and take the Patriots to upset the San Francisco 49ers. I do not think that the 49ers are in a good place right now, coming off back-to-back close losses where Brock Purdy, maybe he didn't have any turnovers in this game, but it's not like he helped himself either. There's some wide open plays to Ayuk downfield that he could have hit to easily ice this game.
I like the upset alert. I can't quite pick the Patriots to win this game just because their offense is anemic. So I will take the Patriots to cover the spread, but I think this is going to be a competitive game that people don't quite see. But I will take the 49ers to eke out a win here. I'm talking like a 17-14 type game. Low scoring. I think the Patriots are competitive throughout, just like they've been 2 weeks prior. So I'll take that there. I think Patriots cover the spread. You pick them as the upset. And then we go to a terrible game of the week. Not quite the worst game of the week, but it's up there. We have Vegas hoisting Deshaun Watson and the Cleveland Browns.
Oh,
The
God.
Raiders are favorited at 2.
Cancel it now.
4 o'clock slate.
Okay.
All I'll say about this game, Gardner Minshew, the Gardner Minshew roller coaster ride that is, he has some games where he balls out against the Ravens. Then he has some games like he had last week where he's just not getting it done. I think this is a game he can bounce back. I don't think I ever want to pick the Browns to win a game this year, no matter how good that defense is and no matter how much I like Kevin Stefanski. I'd like to think I believed in Antonio Pierce when they hired him. I have my questions so far this season, but it is still early. I'll take the Raiders to win this game against the Browns. I think the Browns are the cellar dwellers in this division, and they're pathetic for a lot of reasons. I'll take the Raiders and Minshew to bounce back after a tough game against the Panthers.
Yeah, and Max Crosby, he was in the backfield, and I heard him knock down Deshaun Watson, and he said, "What? Do you need a massage? Come on, get back up." And I think that's going to be this game because Max Crosby's going to be in the backfield trash talking. And also, this Cleveland Browns defense doesn't feel like it's the same as it was last year because Jim Schwartz was talking about how he felt the need to almost blitz to get pressure because really no one on that defensive line outside of Myles Garrett is able to generate any pressure, which lends itself well to the weakness of the Oakland Raiders, which really has been their offensive line and running the football. But I think with Brock Bowers and Devontae Adams in this game and getting absolutely embarrassed, I do expect Antonio Pierce to respond. And speaking of teams that Gardner Minshew balled out last year, so we saw a deja vu game last year where we saw Gardner Minshew come back, 10-point lead in the fourth quarter, win in overtime against the Ravens. Happened pretty much the exact same way this season, even though the game didn't go to overtime. But now, last year with the Colts, when did Gardner Minshew have his big breakout game? Versus the Cleveland Browns. And I think this could be one of those teams that he has a good feel for. He's going to play well against, and I still like their weapons, Jacoby Myers, Devontae Adams, and Brock Bowers, and they also have Michael Mayer there. So I will take the Raiders in a bounce-back game. Max Crosby in the backfield, knocking down Deshaun Watson. You want a massage, buddy? Get back up. This is the NFL.
I like it. I'm here for it. And then the last of our 4 o'clock slates, we have the Chargers hoisting Kansas City. It's looking as if Justin Herbert will sit this week out as they do have a week 5 bye. So looking like we're not going to have Justin Herbert. We'll have Taylor Heineke in this game, and they face the Chiefs. No Justin Herbert, Taylor Heineke against a team that looks like the best team in the NFL. Chiefs are favored at 8.5. I mean, do we have to talk about this game?
Yeah, I mean,
feel like it's not.
when the Chiefs are allowed 4 extra players on the field every play, I think it'll be pretty easy to win. You have to be pretty good to overcome that. So not everyone can have players on their team that wear white and black stripes. So I think with Taylor Heineke, can he overcome the Chiefs and not getting calls? No. I don't think he can. And the Chargers haven't been able to beat the Chiefs with Justin Herbert. And J.K. Dobbins was really the guy who's running all over people. You struggled against the Steelers to run the ball last week. Chiefs still have a really dynamic defensive line and are able to stop the run. So, no, I do not think Taylor Heineke, whatever you want to call him, guy who almost beat Tom Brady in a playoff game, that guy, I don't think he's going to beat the Chiefs in this game. And the Chiefs have kind of just been coasting where it's like they're just doing the bare minimum to win. Patrick Mahomes in the regular season now is just the smart kid taking the test, passing, getting an A minus. If he studied, he could get an A plus, but he's okay with a B plus or A minus if he doesn't have to put in any extra effort because he can just show up and get it done.
Yeah, I like that. We will give the Chiefs the easy win there. Then we go to matchup of the week, easily. We have the Ravens hoisting Josh Allen. Josh Allen versus Lamar Jackson. Doesn't get much better than this. Right now, Vegas has Baltimore at 2.5-point favorites in this game. Sunday Night Football, Baltimore, Maryland. What are your early thoughts on this game?
I don't know. Like, I don't have a strong feeling on who's going to win this game because I feel like my problem with both of these teams is that they tend to be front runners and blow leads in the fourth quarter. Like, I can't think of too many tremendous comeback wins from the Buffalo Bills. Like, typically when they win games, they're leading most of the game now. Their running game has been explosive. And same with the Ravens. They absolutely annihilate the Cowboys and then kind of let them creep back here. The Bills definitely keep the pedal on the metal a lot better than the Baltimore Ravens. So I'm gonna go with the Buffalo Bills in this game. Just because I think they've looked more dominant than the Ravens. And I think Josh Allen is hunting that MVP. I think when he saw the top 100 players, that really pissed him off. And I also think Stephon Diggs was a addition by subtraction because Josh Allen has been talking a lot recently about how great it is to have a team that doesn't care about stats. Who could they have gotten rid of that was complaining 24/7 about his stats on the Gabe Davis, that good old coin flip. Is he going to catch it or not? Your coin flip is about as good as you're going to get because he had a 50% catch rate. And now Josh Allen's kind of renewed. And then also their offense, they switched out the offensive coordinator in the middle of the season. It looks a little bit more polished. They're running the football a lot better, which is one of the big complaints that I've had with the Buffalo Bills. So I think this game at times will be a mess. And I think we're going to see some turnovers from Lamar and Josh Allen. However, I still don't like that the Ravens let the Cowboys come all the way back. And there was a point in that game where you're like, okay, they're like mathematically the Cowboys can't come back, but I still don't like that their defense is allowing these double-digit comebacks, which was a theme last season. And if Kenny Pickett can do it to you, I think Josh Allen can.
For sure. This is a hard game to really nail down on. And I feel like with these big primetime games, it goes more about who's the better team. I think right now it's the Bills, and it's obvious. I think their offense looks a lot more renewed. Their defense has been more consistent. But I think when we look at this game, I think we have to look at where they are currently. And I just don't see the NFL putting the Ravens at 1-3 at this point, especially with that division. And I don't see them putting the Bills at 4-0. So I'm going to edge the Ravens here. I think they bounce back. I know that they won their first game against the Cowboys last week, but Lamar Jackson was not pleased with seeing Marlon Humphrey going live. He was pissed. I think if we can get a pissed off Lamar in the regular season, taking on another major quarterback like Josh Allen, I think this is going to be a battle, but I'm going to take the Ravens to edge it out. Start to figure things out. They've been kind of clunky through the first 3 games, but I think they start to piece it together against a worthy opponent.
Yeah, and this has been a tough rivalry. It's typically a defensive game when these two teams play. However, when they played each other in the playoffs, what did it come down to? Lamar Jackson turnover. And I just think that Josh Allen is playing at a much higher level than Lamar, where with the ball in Josh Allen's hands, even if it's 3rd and 15, if you're the defense, you're not relaxing. Whereas too many times in the fourth quarter when the Ravens have a lead, I feel like they're too predictable and easy to stop. And Lamar Jackson, he's just missing too many open guys. And I think you can look at the NFL similarly to the UFC, where if Dana White gives you a title fight and you choke it out, you may not get one the next year, and he may want someone else to compete with the Kansas City Chiefs. So why would I think that the NFL would want the Ravens to win this game when Joe Burrow is also 0-3 and can move to the same record as the Ravens? You see the Steelers with Justin Fields, so it's still going to be a competition for that division because the Browns could still lose this week. And if the Ravens lose and the Bengals win, then you're tied and you have to catch up to the Steelers. So I don't think the NFL actually cares if the Ravens are in it. I think they're ready to give Josh Allen a second shot at it. I think they're ready to give Joe Burrow a second shot at it. I think they're ready to give the Texans a shot here. The Ravens, you had your chance last year. And there's too many blown fourth quarter leads where your offense doesn't look dynamic.
Yeah. I know that Lamar Jackson on primetime historically, though, he goes crazy on primetime historically. Same with Josh Allen. I think we could see game of the year potentially for them. I think when they faced the Bills last time, they didn't have Derrick Henry, and Derrick Henry's been fantastic for them so far. So having to stop Derrick Henry is going to be a challenge, and I think they'll bounce back from the Cowboys game. I'll still take the Ravens to win this game. I think this is going to be fireworks as we have two of the best guys in the business playing.
No, you're just a Josh Allen hater. Let's be honest.
Josh Allen hater. That's crazy.
You're like, no, he's definitely better than Lamar yesterday. And today you're like, you know what, Lamar, I don't think the NFL wants him to lose.
They don't want him to lose. And they also have Derrick Henry now. And I'll take Derrick Henry.
They don't have Patrick Queen either. So
we'll see how it goes on Sunday. Now we go to the two Monday night games. We talked about this last week or last episode. Why they have two Monday night games, we don't know. Last week, the Jags and Bills game, I mean, it was great to watch Josh Allen ball because I love Josh Allen and I'm not a hater of Josh Allen, unlike some people on this show. But
yeah, unlike some people like yourself.
But the other game, we had the Commanders and Bengals, and that was a great game. It's kind of similar this week. First game that we'll go over, Tennessee and Miami. No Tua, no Skylar Thompson, and the Dolphins are also the only team in the NFL who has not held a lead all season. What's the problem with that? Oh, yeah, it's the last week of September. We've been playing football for 4 weeks now. You don't have a single lead. And now you're going to be relying on Tim Boyle or Tyler Huntley to play on primetime. Why would the NFL do this? Why don't they just flex this game? I don't know. Either way, Tennessee and Miami. Dolphins are favored at -1. Tickets you can get as cheap as $20 if you're in the great city of Miami, Florida.
Filth.
Miami and Tennessee.
Miami's a city full of filth, like their team. Bunch of goddamn whores in this city, in Miami. All these streamers that think they can just talk on the internet and money falls out of the sky. Same with their team. You think you can just have a mediocre quarterback and pay him $60 million and he'll turn into a franchise guy. And then suddenly he may never play again. And then never having a lead, looking like one of the worst teams in the NFL. At least Will Levis is dumb, but he's at least a dumb kid that tries really hard. And I cannot say the same about the Miami Dolphins. So I think it's time that the Titans get a win here. Miami has looked awful with Skylar Thompson, and they're like, you know what? He's a great backup quarterback, and he's also been hurt before for them, and they brought him back. And then you have Tim Boyle here. They should have figured out a better backup situation, so I'll still take Will Levis and the Titans in this game. He's really finding his rhythm with DeAndre Hopkins, and I think this week on Monday Night Football, an extra day of film study will be good for Will Levis. So I will take the Titans. They deserve it in this game. Miami, they can dwell at the bottom of the AFC this year, and they dug their own grave.
And they deserve to. And I agree. I think Will Levis, although he has made some very, very questionable plays this year, I still think that he's got grit. He's still a talented guy. You still see those throws each and every week. I called him the white Jameis Winston. Yeah, I called him the white Jameis Winston last week, and I think that's very fair. He's going to have some great games. And I think this Miami team is just defeated. They lost Tua. They lost their backup quarterback. And now they're on their third string quarterback. It doesn't matter that they're at home. I think Tennessee is hungrier for a win. Give me the Tennessee Titans. I think Will Levis, also, by the way, the same guy who came up and had a 14-point deficit erased in 4 minutes last year on primetime against them. And I think that he's familiar with the Dolphins. He gets the win, and the Tennessee Titans get their first win. Then we go last game of the week. We have Detroit Lions. They hoist the Seattle Seahawks. And
Hoist.
they hoist it. They're going to be in Detroit here. Lions are favorited at 3.5. These games always are electric when they play. If you remember, I think last year it was like 51-47 or some shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, early thoughts on this primetime. This is the game that I'll actually watch on Monday night because this will be a lot more fun.
Yeah, hopefully this one's on ESPN Plus this time. And yeah, it should be another good matchup, but it begs the question why Miami and Tennessee was put on this Monday Night Football matchup. Like, you don't need two because you also can't watch them at the same time, which is like the most frustrating part. You're watching two games and like watching Red Zone and another game. I know some people do like NFL Sunday Ticket, but how can you focus on that many games at one time? I personally just like watching Red Zone just to get a better idea of it, and then I go back and watch, NFL Plus and watch every single play that happened throughout the week.
Yeah. Now, I pulled up the Lions record. The Lions are actually 0-3 against the Seahawks over the past 5 years. They had last game they lost 37-31. Every game's been close though. They lost 48-45 2 years ago. Do you think this is a game where the Seahawks just have their number and Geno Smith just knows how to dice up that defense? Or do you think this is a relinquishing their demons, finally getting the win against a team that they've played competitively against but haven't gotten the win against?
No. This is a game where the Lions, man, you want to talk about things we haven't done yet, guys. You want to talk about biting kneecaps? You want to talk about 2 Pike cold brews with espresso shots to lose my mind on the sideline every single week and find new ways to improve and relinquish the history that we've had? You know what I'm talking about, man? Well, the Seahawks have kicked their ass every single year, so I think it's time we take a pound of Seahawk flesh and win on Monday Night Football. And this is a thing where the Lions have been steadily breaking curses. They had their best regular season of all time last year. They made it to the conference championship. In 1 year, they totaled the amount of playoff wins that they had in the past 50. And I think this is an opportunity for Dan Campbell to motivate and challenge this Detroit Lions team, where like this Seahawks team has had our number, but it's time we flip the table on them and we go out and avenge that loss and really get another monkey off our back, break another curse in Detroit, and give people another reason to love America's team. Some of their so-called fans who just watched Hard Knocks 1 year and decided to be a fans and then wear Cardinals merch to their stadium may not agree. They may go with history. They may pick the Seattle Seahawks, but I think Detroit, I still have grit. The question is, do you?
First of all, shut the fuck up. Secondly, I picked the Lions in this game as well. I think that they're the better team. They have the better defense. And I do think that they're a team that are relinquishing their demons. Hell, they released their demons against the Cardinals, if they had any, last week. They are the better team. They also see that they have a great game opportunity. Will the Vikings fall against the Packers this week? Can they have a chance to be the number 1 team in the NFC North? I think they're excited about that. I like the Lions, especially with their fans. After seeing what I saw in State Farm Stadium last week, I can tell you those Lions fans are fucking crazy. And that stadium is roaring on Monday Night Football against these Seahawks. So I will absolutely take the Lions to win this game. I think it's going to be competitive like it always is. But give me the Lions to edge it out and get the win.
Yeah, and I think Seattle too, they've kind of like slowed down offensively in the second half. And I noticed it last year where I feel like the Lions now are one of those teams that knows what it takes to win games. This is a game that they're ready for. Primetime on Monday Night Football, and the Lions have shown up and shown out on Monday Night Football. So I'm excited for this game. Probably it's still the game of the week. Like, we have so many incredible games this week. We have the Saints and Falcons. We have the Lions and Seahawks. Sunday Night Football is Ravens and Bills. We get to figure out a lot about both of those teams here, and so many more incredible games. I'm excited for this week of football. I think week 4, it's finally about to get real, and
Yeah,
we'll find out who the best teams are.
yeah, we're almost at our quarterly analysis, our report cards. We'll be getting our teachers' grades ready for the upcoming week when we go over our grades for every single team in the NFL.
Yeah, should wear our professor glasses for that one for sure. But we also have the top 5 teams in the NFL heading into week 4 with an electric matchup to start it out in the AFC East. But when you think about the 5th best team, it's kind of a team where you just haven't seen too much of it from them yet. You need to see more consistent greatness from this team week in and week out, and you're not sure what you really have with this team. But what you do know is they haven't lost a game. They have a new face at quarterback, and it kind of fits with this team. And then you sit down, you're like, okay, there have been 3 weeks that have been played in the NFL, and they've only given up 26 points. That's right. The number 5 team this week is going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers, making their first appearance on the Brickyard's top 5 in a long time. What do they have so far? The best defense in the league this year. They have a new and improved offense where we actually saw a Najee Harris sighting before November. And they're figuring out that maybe if you have a receiver who can catch the ball and is explosive in George Pickens, you should probably use him. And that's exactly what they've done. They picked up players like Patrick Queen that have been another just dynamic difference maker. I know Alex Highsmith got banged up, but the difference with this team when not only TJ Watt is there, but the underrated leadership of Cam Hayward being back on that defensive line is why I have the Pittsburgh Steelers at number 5 this week, heading into, most importantly, week 4. Let's see if they can keep it up this week and get another W in Indianapolis and start the season out 4-0 and get an A+ on that report card. And at number 4 is a team that we also saw some signs from last year, and now a lot of people are looking at it. Okay, do they now have the most underrated coach in the NFL, or is this team allergic to having a bad quarterback? Because I do not understand what is happening in Green Bay right now. You take a guy who went to Liberty University, of all places, and comes out, looks terrible in Tennessee, and now you have back-to-back wins with him. Your defense has looked electric, slowing down the Titans. You slowed down the Indianapolis Colts, even though Jonathan Taylor had a good game, but now you're figuring out how to involve players like Jaden Reed in the run game and using his quickness, using players like Romeo Doubs, having 2 dynamic tight ends there, and Josh Jacobs and Matt LaFleur, turning Malik Willis into a quarterback that looks like a legitimate starter where he's going to go for 200 yards, get you 70 rushing yards, no turnovers, and 2 to 3 total touchdowns. That'll work, and I think the Green Bay Packers, when Jordan Love gets back, are going to be a problem for a lot of teams in the NFC this year. And at number 3, I mean, how can you not put this team number 3 when they are America's team? We've seen this team, and they played a lot of games last year, won a lot of games last year, got far in the playoffs last year, have a lot of grit as well. The Detroit Lions went to Arizona, bouncing back off a loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but looking to find their bearings. coming out with probably the best play I've seen so far in the NFL. The difficulty it takes to pull off a hook and lateral, I feel like most people kind of like, oh yeah, they toss the ball back and forth. To call that in a game with Dan Campbell laying his you-know-whats on the table week in and week out, yeah, it's 4th and 12 in the red zone on our side of the field in negative territory, but I'm going to call a fake punt anyways. That's the type of energy that will keep Detroit going, and I think they've earned that spot at number 3 back, going into a tough environment, slowing down Kyler Murray and the Cardinals. Defense looking electric there. So at number 3, have the Detroit Lions, which brings me to number 2. I think if you can go out there and score 47 points, be easily the best team in September over the past few years, this is a team that, I mean, you want to talk about a team that wins September year in and year out. It's the Buffalo Bills, because in September, this team is always an absolute wagon. And what happens on Sunday night will determine whether or not they stay in the top 3 or even the top 5, depending on how they look. But you cannot deny how much different their offense looks this year, where who would have thought that when you have a quarterback as dynamic as Josh Allen, you know it would make him even better if he wasn't the only running back on your team. You know, you think that would be a great, oh yeah, franchise quarterback. We're paying him all this money, mortgaging $250 million for this guy. Maybe, just maybe, we shouldn't let him get hit as much and actually have a running game, and that's exactly what's happening. The vibe seems a little bit different in Buffalo without Stephon Diggs. Not saying he's a problem, but every week when the Josh Allen is saying, when players aren't complaining about their stats and I'm just sitting back here and dealing and not thinking about getting him the ball, kind of fun. So at number 2, it is the Buffalo Bills. And at number 1, I have 2 teams at number 1. I don't think one of them really plays football, but I think they're kind of a package deal at this point when you commit near murder in the end zone and can get away with it. I have the Kansas City Chiefs and Ron Torbert and his crew and the NFL refs. I think when you have a team that can work together that well, where if you go up and are looking at the ball and go to swat it down, it's not pass interference and your team can tackle, you never get called for holds, and you are the reigning Super Bowl champion. You have the best player in the league. You have Chris Jones on defense. And then when Pacheco goes down, I mean, you spawn Trevor Lawrence if he was a fullback, but actually a running back, and wears number 42, and he's like kind of good, kind of pretty good for you. I think the Kansas City Chiefs have earned that number 1 spot and deserve to be the number 1 team, according to the Brickyard.
I cannot believe it. Your heart grew 3 sizes. The hatred in your heart for the Buffalo Bills has exacerbated. It's gone. It's completely gone. And now they reign at number 2. That was the surprise of the week for me. But
in
that
September.
is the top 5. It is September. That's true.
This is so far going into week 4. This is the 5 best teams so far.
He's an honest man, unbiased man.
I am.
And he loves to love.
I won't lie to you. One thing I'll say is you may think I'm biased sometimes, but I'll never lie to you. I still call it how I see it here. Now, will my opinions be different when I pick these teams in the playoffs? Yes. But as of right now, these are the 5 best teams that I believe currently so far who have done something to earn being in this top 5. And the Steelers, it's the defense. The Bills, it's Josh Allen. The Lions, they're the little engine that could. They have heart and talent now. And then, the Kansas City Chiefs just keep chugging along. Green Bay Packers may have the hottest coach in the league, if that's a thing.
Yeah.
Not like hot, like I'm attracted to him, but like hot as in he's on fire. I feel like it's 2024. Got to clarify.
Yeah, of course. But that is the top 5 teams according to the Brickyard. You guys heard it here live. And, I mean, we previewed all our games. We talked about the top 5 teams according to the Brickyard here. Biggest message of all this, though, before it's all said and done, something that's important that we mentioned before the end of every show. Always, always, always stay brick.
Stay brick. Oh,
Uh-huh.
not too shabby.
Not too shabby at all. Oh, let's fucking go.
Yeah.